Incredible animals at risk. Stories of survival. Kimberlie Hamilton. Australia and New Zealand. Surrounded by ocean, the wildlife of the islands and countries of Australia and New Zealand have evolved separately from both of their nearest neighbors and from each other. Animals such as the koala, key, and quokka are found nowhere else. When Europeans arrived in the 18th century, they brought rats, livestock, and diseases with them that pushed some native species to brink of extinction. Nowadays, climate change causes of humans also poses a danger to Australian wildlife. The first mammal to die out as a direct result of climate change was the bramble K. melamis. The little rodents lived in only one place on Earth, a sand island off the northern coast of Australia. A local fisherman was the last person to see one alive in the wild in 2009. 10 years later, the species was officially declared gone forever. Climate change was also sparked terrible natural disasters. Throughout the region, the 2019 bushfires in Australia were especially bad due to drought, scorching temperatures, and strong winds caused by global warming. It's estimated that over 3 billion animals died or were forced from their habitats. Such facts like this is thought to think about. Yet it's important to remember that Australia is a gigantic place and the bushfires burned only a fraction of it. The impact of wildlife was devastating, but many animals did survive, and there are now positive signs that ecosystems are bouncing back and landscapes are recovering. Anwen, koala. Anwen was one of the first koalas treated at the post-Macquarie's Koala Hospital after the forest fires of 2019. Instead of fleeing the flames, koalas instinctively climbed up trees to escape danger, so the youngster was badly burned. Volunteers spent days giving their fluids and putting ointment on their injuries. As Anwen recovered, she began to look forward to the daily delivery of fresh eucalyptus leaves. She also found a perch the staff dubbed Anwen's Spot, where she could sit and prop up her sore paws. Photos of the fuzzy menstrual pool on the hospital's online adoption page introduced her to thousands of well-wishers who followed her progress, and was when eventually entered the wild and became a symbol of hope through a nation of traumatized animal lovers. Apple, Lullaby. Apple hopped into the lobby of the Lullaby Eco Resort one day and quickly became a regular and popular visitor. She was a natural crowd pleaser, greeting guests upon arrival, matching on carrots and posting for selfies. Sometimes she even rested a paw on a lucky visitor's knee, her mashable version of a friendly handshake. Frequently mistaken for a young kangaroo, Apple was actually a wild wallaby, and probably the one with her own social media hashtag. Apple the Lullaby. Guests loved to share their favorite holiday photos of Apple, and she was also featured in numerous magazines, newspapers, and YouTube videos. She passed away in late 2016, leaving behind a little Joey called Cuckoo, who was well looked after until he was able to be returned to the wild. Dash and Violet, Tasmanian Devils. Two tiny Tasmanian devils were found in 2018, helpless and alone with no mother in sight. Named Dash and Violet after the character in the animated film The Incredibles, the twins soon became known as the Incredible Devils. They now live at the Australian Reptile Park, where they are a key part of the captive breeding program. Dash and Violet are social media stars with millions of fans watching them grow up. Celebrations for the mischievous pair's first birthday included treats hidden in boxes which they ripped apart in a typical toddler fashion, and a cake made of finely chopped meat. The twins are teaching people that members of their species are not devils at all. They're total sweethearts, although they have been known to make some spine-chilling sounds. Takak. Takaks are flightless bird for decades believed to be extinct. Tritirimangatani, New Zealand, is one of the few places where they can be found in the wild, and Greg was one of the island's best-known birds. He arrived there in 1984 as a youngster and quickly got busy boosting the takak population, fathering many chicks over the years. He had no fear of humans and became to associate with them food. If you weren't careful, he'd stalk off with your lunch. He was so popular that a children's book was written about him, Greg the Naughty Takah. After he died in 2012, Greg's admirers held a ceremony to celebrate his life and set up a conservation fund in his memory. Today, the Takah population is still quite small but growing, with more than 400 birds. Old Blue, Black Robin. Old Blue was a black robin, aka Custom Island robin, a species found only in New Zealand. At one time there were just 5 birds left and Old Blue was the only adult female. It seemed like a hopeless situation, but one biologist came up with a radical plan. Each time Old Blue laid eggs, he put them in foster nests to be hatched by other birds, prompting her to lay more. It worked so well that all 150 black robins who live today are descendants of Old Blue. She was honored on a postage stamp at a coin, inspired a children's book, and had a plaque dedicated to her at the Tasmanian Island airport. She's also the one bird history whose death was formally announced at the government parliament. All right, and rightly so, as Old Blue saved her entire species from becoming extinct. Patrick, Wombat. Patrick came to the Ballarat Wildlife Park in 1987 and soon endeared himself into everyone with his gentle nature and buck-toothed grin. Voted one of the world's best city mascots by CNNT Revel, Patrick appeared in YouTube videos and on the TV program Totally Wild. He loved cuddles and zooming around the park in his royalty. Patrick had over 55,000 Facebook fans, but never found a special female, not even after his keepers signed him up for an online dating service. In 2017, Patrick celebrated his 31st birthday with hundreds of friends. He passed away a short time later, the oldest known bare-nosed wombat in captivity. Roger, Kangaroo. A kind man rescued Roger from his mom's porch after she was killed in a road accident. Named after the animated film star Roger Rabbit, the young Rojoey grew to a mammoth size, more than 2 meters tall and 99 kilograms, 6 feet 7 inches and 1,196 pounds. With a bad fist too that set him apart from other male roos. He appeared in the BBC documentary Kangaroo Dundee, but true fame came after 2015 video went viral. It showed him crushing a backtail bucket with his bare paws. This incredible feat of strength showed what made ripped right through an internet sensation. The massive Marsupial died in 2018, where he was 12 years old. The kangaroo sanctuary that was created especially for Roger now keeps his memory alive with its rehab and conservation programs. Whiskey, Numbat. Whiskey was born at Perth Zoo in 2015 and played a key role in the zoo's breeding program, feathering many numbats that were released into the wild. Numbats are prince-sized marsupials with bottle-brush tails that were at risk of extinction just a few decades ago. The biggest threats are habitat loss and foxes, which Europeans introduced in the 1800s. Today, there are still fewer than 1,000 in Western Australia, but things are improving, especially after the government-funded Numbat conservation in 2018. A gift timed to celebrate the birth of Prime Louise, the newest member of the British royal family. Now enjoying a well-deserved retirement, Whiskey is a favorite with Western school children and serves an excellent ambassador for his species. Australia and New Zealand wildlife wins. The 2019 bushfires dealt a terrible blow to Australian wildlife, but there's still many positive things to report. Bandicoots now have their own predator-free island program to boost their declining numbers. 55 of the marsupials were released in 2019 on French Island, located off the southwest coast of Australia. Australians can buy chocolate bilbies for Easter instead of chocolate bunnies. It's a conservation campaign to raise awareness of the tiny, big-eared creatures and their endangered status. Drones are high-tech tools used to help rescue Australian wildlife. The drones can cover lots of territory in a short time, ideal for locating bushfire survivors and going visual health checks. In New Zealand, drones are also helping kakapos, the world's largest species of parrot, by helping scientists track the wildlife population and spot problems as they arise. The conservation group Kiwis for Kiwi collect kiwi eggs and hatching and rears them in safe locations until they are old enough to survive on their own. After the koala population dropped by 2 birds in 20 years, conservationists requested an emergency endangered listing for koalas to give them additional protections. Maremma dogs now work as bodyguards for bandicoots, which have been virtually wiped out in Australia by predators. A new national park in South Wales was created solely to provide a protected habitat for at least 27 endangered species, including the grey grasswan, a small bird native to the area. Natives made tiny sweaters for oil-soaked penguins after a 2001 spill on Australia's Phillip Island. The sweaters prevented the birds from glooming themselves and swallowing the harmful oil. The critically endangered Smoky Mouse was initially thought extinct after the bushfires of 2019, but they've since been spotted alive on camera at 7 sites in New South Wales, Australia. After the 2018 bushfires wiped out huge areas of habitat, wildlife ranchers in Australia dumped bunches of carrots and sweet potatoes from planet to pull at wallabies and other hungry animals. Wombats, which look like guinea pigs, are one of the world's most endangered species and now legally protected in every state of Australia. Other amazing Australian animals. Ajax is the world's only conservation dog who specializes in Kia. He and his angle roam New Zealand's South Island in search of nests so the bird can be tagged and monitored. A conservation dog called Bear is trained to sniff out koalas' carrot and fur. Wearing socks to protect his paws, he is sent into burnout areas to search for sick and injured animals. He found over 100 koalas after the 2019 Australian bushfires. The last known Tasmanian tiger Benjamin died at a zoo in 1936. Each year on 7th September, the anniversary of his death, Australia observes National Threatened Species Day in his memory. Davy is a quokka who is said to have psychic powers. He accurately predicted the outcomes of various elections and major sporting events based on which food bowl he opted to eat from first. Mr. Wu was a rare albino wallaby adopted by a British rescue centre in 2004. He became a celebrity, appearing on television programs such as Blue Peter. A dog called Rex found a young joey in a mother kangaroo's pouch after she'd been killed on the road. Named Rex Jr. after his savior, the joey lived in a sanctuary until he was old enough to return to the wild. Sane was a badly burned koala who came in a frame when photos of her went viral in 2009. The images showed her guzzling from a water bottle held by a firefighter during the Black Saturday bushfires, one of Australia's worst natural disasters. Sam Survivor's story inspired many people to support and donate to the Australian Koala Foundation. A herd of wild wallabies live on the Isle of Man in the UK. It's thought that a group of the bouncy marsupials made a bird of freedom and a local wildlife park back in the 1960s. Now the island had around 150 of them, the largest wallaby population in the northern hemisphere. One day mysteriously appeared out of nowhere in the backyard in Australia in 2019. His DNA revealed that he was a very rare thing, a purebred Australian elfin dingo. Judging by the scratches on his back, his parents believed he was dropped out of the sky by an eagle. Now he lives in a sanctuary in Victoria.